Looking to take your financial knowledge to the next level? You're in the right place. Welcome to Ask Ralph, offering accounting, technical, and financial advice. Whether you're looking to save taxes or improve your business, he's got you covered. Here's your host of Ask Ralph, Ralph Eastup Jr.
Welcome back to the Ask Ralph Show. You know, one of the questions I get a lot in my practice is, hey, Ralph, when should I file for Social Security benefits? And I've talked about this before, and that's not what I'm going to talk about today. What I'm going to talk about today is much simpler. It's much easier to understand, and that is the actual steps of how to file for benefits. And quite frankly, this is an area that I didn't have a lot of information about, but it's something I'm getting more and more questions about. You know, I've always gotten the question of, hey, Ralph, should I take my Social Security at 62? Should I wait to 66? Should I wait to 68? Hey, what if I wait till 70? This is not what I'm talking about today. This is after you've already made the decision that you're going to file for benefits. You know, this is what we're going to talk about. What are the steps to do this? So where to start is a simple thing, you know. And before you even start that, let's talk about Medicare, and let's talk about health insurance, because that's something you need to consider. So before you decide on taking Social Security, make a plan for how you're going to handle your medical insurance. And if you don't qualify for Medicare, what's your plan? Now, so the first thing that I recommend you do is start your final research by confirming what your monthly benefit likely will be with Social Security. And the best way to do that is if you go to My Social Security site, and you can log in with your information, and you can see the current benefit for which you are eligible based on your earnings records. Now, why do I ask you to start there? That's because you want to make sure that your earnings history is correct. It's not always the case. So you'll want to start to correct any inaccurate information and have it updated before you file for benefits. You need to make sure that all of your earnings from different jobs. Now, if you've only had one or two jobs in your life, that'll be real simple. But if you've got a mix of jobs, maybe some self-employment income during certain years, you want to make sure that all of those things are recorded on your Social Security records. Now, once you've confirmed that the information is correct, now it's time to make your appointment. Now, there's a couple ways to do that as well. You know, one of the ways you can do it is make an appointment to go visit your local Social Security office. You can go online and apply for benefits, or you can also call them. Their phone number is 800-772-1213. Or like I said, you can go online. And I recommend really, in this case, the old-fashioned face-to-face. So you're going to make an appointment. Now, once you make your appointment, you need to understand something. You know, if you're saying, well, Ralph, I'm going to start at 62. Well, you actually don't have to wait till that. It's a little bit of a nuance to this. You can't apply for benefits before age 61 and 9 months. But what that means is when you turn 61 and 9 months, you can. So the best strategy here is to actually file 3 months before the time you want to receive your benefits. And that's because it does take some time to get these things rolling. Now, that being said, you need to understand the Social Security Administration will not process any applications more than 3 months before benefits dates. So if you're thinking, well, you know, the holidays are coming up and my birthday's, you know, you're going to have to wait till, you know, no more than 3 months ahead of time. Now, the other thing you need to take into consideration, I've seen this, you know, fall as an issue for some people, is you're not going to get benefits the first month you think you're entitled to them. You actually get your first check the following month. So one of the things you're going to want to consider is if you're going to be using Social Security to subsidize, you know, your income, like you're leaving a job, you need to make sure you have plenty of funds available to cover yourself between the time you stop working and the day your benefit checks start to arriving, or your direct deposit is definitely the better approach. So just give that some consideration. So you're going to look at 3 months ahead of time, but realize that you're not going to actually get your benefits until the month after you're qualified. So the next thing is, okay, well, now that I've got my appointment, I've got my dates figured out, I've got funds ready, what's the next step? Well, now you're going to be getting ready for your appointment. And the thing you're going to need to bring with you for that is a photo ID. You're going to need to bring your birth certificate and your bank information so they can set up your direct deposit benefits right into your checking account. Now, in addition to that, you're going to be asked several questions. First one is the date and place of birth. So you need to know that. I would think most people know that. Your Social Security number. Well, duh. If you don't know your Social Security number and you're at the Social Security Administration, that seems like a silly thing, but you're also going to need to know the name, date of birth, and Social Security numbers of your current and, if applicable, former spouses. Now, why is that important? Well, you might be entitled to different benefits based on your former marriages or, you know, former spouses. And I'm not going to get into that discussion because you talk about getting into the weeds. This is a real complicated area. Going along with that, you're going to need to know the names of any of your children under 18, children disabled prior to age 22, or children 18 to 19 years old who are enrolled in college. Again, the reason you need to know that is there may be benefits for these folks as well. Again, I'm not going to get into specifics about that. If you're interested in that, you go right to the Social Security Administration website and go look up more specifics on that. Now, you're also going to need confirmation of whether or not you have ever filed for Social Security benefits, Medicare, or supplemental Social Security income before, SSI as it's called. The next thing you're going to want to know, to be prepared for, is a decision on whether you want to enroll in Medicare Part B if you're within 3 months of age 65. This is what we talk about, traditional Medicare. And you can't apply for that till you're within 3 months of age 65. And I say this because this is an area where you really need to make some planning. And I've mentioned this in some, shows before, is that, you may be ready to take your benefits at 62 and quit your job, but you need to take a look at, what are you going to do for healthcare? Because you've got that gap between, 62 and potentially, the time when you would qualify for Medicare. So that's something to consider. Not at the time that you go to apply. I think you better consider that before you go in. The next thing you're going to need to know is the name and address of your current employer, along with salary information, which is your W-2 from the previous year, because they don't update their system right away. So if you don't have that information, with you, it's going to make things more complicated. So make sure you bring that with you. Any dates of military service, if applicable, and if you're eligible for a pension as a federal government employee. And all these things, like I said, these are complicated issues, but the Social Security person that you meet with will be able to walk you through those. As I understand it, there's less benefits if you've been eligible for a pension or a federal government employee. Now, it's important to note that when you go and meet with somebody at the Social Security Administration, the person you talk to is not allowed to help you decide which claiming strategy is best for you. They're only there to process your claim. So one of the things that I will mention here, and let's take a couple, a minute or so and talk about it, is, we'll get back to where we started. And that is, do your research well in advance of filing, and seek the professional advice of somebody like myself, an accountant or a, person or a financial planner, and really understand, what you're getting yourself into. Is this the right time to take Social Security? And I talked about that in a show earlier. Are there considerations that you might want to think about? If you take your Social Security at age 62, you're losing 25% of your benefits. If you wait till age 65, then you're going to qualify for Medicare, and then you're still going to not get full benefits because you're not at full retirement age, which is basically 66 or 66 and a half, depending upon, when you were born. And then there's also that decision about, or do I wait till 70 to take benefits? Am I really healthy? Am I thinking that I'm going to live a life that's a lot longer? Do I have parents who live to be into their late 80s or 90s? Those are all the things you got to think about before you get to the point of making that Social Security appointment. And frankly, I think those are the bigger issues to discuss. But I wanted to take a few minutes today and just talk about, the semantics about how to apply for Social Security. So all this information is found on the Social Security website. So I hope this was helpful to everyone.
You've been listening to Ask Ralph, brought to you by Saggio Accounting Plus. Please subscribe to and rate our podcast on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts, and leave us a rating and review. Our podcast is produced by Carolyn Peters. Thank you for listening, and be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at Ask Ralph Media. You can also hear me each week on 1450 WILM and on 1410 WDOV in Delaware, and on the iHeartRadio app. Submit your questions or ideas for future shows by sending an email to AskRalph@AskRalph.com.
The information contained in this episode of Ask Ralph is based on data available as of the date of its release. Saggio Accounting Plus and Ask Ralph Media Inc. is under no obligation to update this content if changes occur. Applying this information to your specific situation requires careful consideration of all facts and circumstances, and any information provided is not to be considered as financial, tax, or legal advice. Please consult your tax advisor or attorney before acting on any material covered.